years of some very, very serious challenges. But I think that there's been some significant improvements, and I think that we need to focus on how we can build on these things. We can improve on the things that we've done. We can learn a lot of lessons from some of the failings that has happened over the time, because you see, as we go on, this is an organization made up of human beings. These are decisions that maybe could be well intended, but in terms of the execution, maybe some things were not done properly. And when we realize those things, or they are brought to our attention, it is only proper that we take all these things into cognizance. I'm sure that perhaps there are even some things that we do today that maybe 3 years ago, if we had the opportunity, we would have done them differently. So I think that there are a lot more to be done. There are things that ought to be done differently, but I think that overall we are on a positive trajectory, and we need to focus on that and build upon that.
Interesting, but fortunately for you, you've been there when Mr. Yantichi, lawyer Yantichi, was there, and then I am football administrator Achel. So you saw Ben Kofi's 5 years development plan. Every day, and then even today we are even mentioning it because always, when we mention the 5 years development plan, is about Ben Kofi. When we talk about the 2006 World Cup and then the 2009 World Cup for the under-20s, now we mentioned Kwesi Nyantakyi. You are under this administration as well. What would this administration be known for?
Well, if for nothing at all, I think that one, the DNA of Ghana football that has been launched, for me, is really a huge thing. It's a big thing. I mean, we've had an identity crisis for a long time. Football evolves, and it has evolved over the years. I mean, to have a blueprint that will actually be what we'll focus on in terms of development of our players from, let's say, 11-year-old up to the senior level, for me, is something that every serious football country has that we have never had. And for me, for the FA to even be able, through the technical directorate, to put in this thing is taking a lot of work, it's taking a lot of time, the consultative process, and you should be reading from the technical people, the people who are involved in this thing, the coaches, the retired players and others who are even involved in coaching, and all those people who were involved in crafting this particular document. This is really what we need if we want to look at the proper development of our football from the basic level up to the very top. And this has been long in coming. And if for nothing at all, at least for the FA to have been able to produce that document for the development of football in this country, for me, is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I think that over time, once it's put into practice, once the FA goes into the implementation mode, and then we start taking the coaches through it, the different instructors through it, they also start implementing it from the base. I mean, we'll be able to, this is something that you don't see the results overnight, because you start from when they are young, 11, 13 and others, and then they grow with it. That's how it's done in other jurisdictions. Yeah. So perhaps it's going to take some time for you to see it reflect. But you obviously need this document to guide it, and that's what we have. And so what you then do is that, I mean, you will over time be doing your normal reviews and others, because nothing is static, things change, but at least you have that document that guides it, and as and when it ought to be tweaked to adapt to changing things, it is done. For me, maybe today people might not appreciate it, but I'm sure that with time, people are really going to see the importance of a document like this, something that deals with the DNA of Ghana football.
All right. There were two final issues. The one with Congress, issue of and then we'll come to the Blasters. So I mean, call the Congress, and then I'll come to the Blasters now. One major issue what happened at Congress was Ash Gold, a suspension from the Ghana football. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm surprised it's an issue, because The Executive Council, on the basis of the statutes, suspended Ashgrove for dealing with personalities who had been banned from football. That was the decision. Because 2 individuals had been banned. And you know that by statute, a member is not supposed to associate or engage or do business with any person or entities that have been banned, whether it's by the GSA, by CAF, by WAFO, or by FIFA. And so that was the reason that Ashgrove, as a member of the FA, was still dealing with persons who had been banned. And they had taken those steps in dissociating themselves from these persons. And so the ESCO then suspended Ashgrove. Now, by the same statutes now empower ESCO not to take that decision. It says that once the ESCO takes the decision, at the next Congress, the ESCO must table it for approval or otherwise by the Congress. And that is exactly, since that decision was taken, the next Congress is what we just had in Kumasi. And that is outcome was part of the Congress documents, which was given to members at least 14 clear days before the said Congress. And by the standing orders, if a member or members have a counter proposal to it, they are expected to put it in writing to the General Secretary before the said Congress. So if something like that had happened, then that counter proposal or proposals would have been tabled before Congress with the original proposal, and then Congress would have to take a decision on that. Now, at the time of Congress, no such counter proposal had been tabled by any member, which stands to reason that no member of the FA thought otherwise, because by the standing orders, if you think otherwise or you disagree or have a different view or variation to the proposal as contained in the agenda for Congress, what you do is to then also write to the General Secretary and file a counter proposal. Nothing of that sort happened, and so it was just consequential that Congress was going to uphold that decision and confirm the suspension, and that's exactly what happened.
I see. Now, what about the filing fee for presidents and ESCO members? I understand the watch out to the epidemic or 50,000 Ghana, and then say ESCO member 15,000. What informed that decision?
You see, first of all, you would recall, sir, the elections before we came was done by the
Nominalization Committee.
Okay. So I think that when we looked at the finances, the audited accounts and others, and we saw how much was spent on the elections, sometimes we forget, for even the presidential elections, it is a whole Congress. So you organize a Congress just for purposes of electing a president.
Yeah.
Yes, and the cost of Congress is extremely high. Don't forget that because it's an election, you are engaging the Electoral Commission, you pay for it, the electoral materials involved in terms of logistics and all that, security and all that. Now, even when you come to the regional elections, people also forget that for the election of the RFA chairman, for example, it is the membership in the entire region. If you take, let's say, Western region, it is all the members of the Western region FA who have to meet. So that's also a regional congress, which is just for the purposes of the election of the RFA chair. So if you look at the cost and all that, the recommendation was that then we need to up it. It's not as if that is what is going to foot the bill, but at least it also pushes the bill. Because let me tell you something. The GFA election, only one person even filed a nomination to contest that. We will still have a Congress anyway. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was the thinking of the ESCO and the recommendation. And once again, the statute of the GFA says that all these fees and charges, it is only Congress that has the power to approve them. And so the Executive Council can only make recommendations. And the Executive Council made the recommendations and gave reasons for the recommendations. And these were all part of the Congress documents that were sent out to members at least 14 clear days before the Congress. If any member disagreed with the reasons or thought otherwise, what I mean is that the member could have said that, look, it is even too small. For ABCD reasons, let's increase it to that. That Congress member must put it in writing and submit it to the General Secretary. Somebody too might say, look, this is too expensive. We think that the GFA should bear all the expense of an election. It should be part of our expenditure. And so it should be zero. That member should put that in writing with the reasons and forward it to the General Secretary. Somebody too could say that, oh, I think that we should maintain the figures for 2019 and give reasons and forward same to the General Secretary in writing. Or somebody too could say that, oh, I disagree. Maybe I think that is too steep for the position of president. Maybe I need 10,000, not 20,000, not 25,000 for us to say, because the proposal had detailed for every office what it was. And then you realize that for female, it says that for every position, female will pay only 50%. So somebody too could have said that, no, I think that maybe females will pay 25%. I think that the president, they should pay this, they should pay that. And forward same and give the reasons. So that is what our standing orders say. Once again, every member of Congress received this document with these details I'm mentioning with the reasons at least 14 clear days before the Congress. By the time that we went to Congress, no member had submitted a counter proposal to this.
Not even one.
Not one. Because if any counter proposal had been submitted, it would have been placed before congressmen. But look, we have received, this is what you received. We have received A from Heart of Lions, or B from Hazakis,
yeah.
or C from Rice, or D from Ahanta FC. And so these are the proposals in front of us. These are the reasons they have given. We need to take a decision on that. But there was no single, all what I heard in the media, and all those who spoke in the media, especially those whose clubs were members of the FA, I'd have expected that as people who are in the association and who know what the rules are and what the statutes say and all that, they would have done what is right if indeed they believed in the things that they were saying. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So if you think that it is outrageous, it is not right, your standing orders clearly tell you that once you have received this, you must send a counter. For example, you at DDRC, when they received the agenda and everything for Congress, they realized that, look, there is nothing about the elections in the thing. They wrote to the General Secretary and said that they have seen this, and their view is that this thing should have been in the agenda, and they are giving the FA 7 days to respond to it and whatever. They got a response, and on the basis of the response, they were satisfied. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But DDRC wrote on the basis of what they had received. And while they had issues with what they had received, they wrote to the General Secretary. So if there is a proposal and you disagree or you have a contrary view to that proposal, our standing orders are clear. Put that in writing, give your reasons, submit it to the General Secretary. Then that, together with the original proposal, will be put before the Congress, and Congress will have to take a decision on that. But if you receive these things and there is no counter, it stands to reason that you are okay with it. And so it will only be moved, seconded, and adopted. And end of story.
Wow. It's very interesting. It's very simple. I mean, and I'm assuming that at least at least 4 or 5 clubs will counter this proposal, because personally my position is I think it's too much, because I'm sure even FIFA, I stand to be corrected though, but I don't think FIFA, when we are going for such positions, wages, so we can use our internally generated funds as the FA to organize congress of such nature, not necessarily, collecting filing fee. That's my personal position, but I think that these are things that the club should have known better.
Chief, I have absolutely no problem with your view, and it is even possible that some people at the Executive Council held this view. Because at the end of the day, a person or some persons can have a view different from what the majority view is. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the most important thing is that it is only a proposal. Fortunately, the Executive Council members, they are only 12. Let's even assume that all the ESCO members are fully in support of this. Let's even assume. And let's assume that they all have a vote. At the end of the day, the Congress is made up of over 100 members. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, it is clear that when there is this proposal and you're a member, one of the rights of you being a member is that you have the opportunity of agreeing or disagreeing with the proposal. If you disagree with the proposal, the standing orders say that express your disapproval with your reasons in writing to the General Secretary. And then that, together with the original one, will be placed before Congress. I'm sure that you saw some people try to raise a counter proposal on the floor of Congress in the case of the Ash Gold issue. Meanwhile, that is not what your standing orders say. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It shall be done 7 days or even within the 14 days.
Yes. So it is. There's a reason why the statutes say that for the agenda and all the relevant documents for Congress, the FA Secretariat must make sure that a member receives it at least 14 days. So that you have the opportunity of looking through it. If you want to seek professional advice or opinion, or you want to analyze it and everything, you can do so. And then on the basis of that, if you disagree with any proposal or you have a counter proposal, you submit same to the Secretariat. Once the Secretariat receives this counter, the Secretariat is then obliged to place, once there's a counter, then it means that there's a basis for decision making as far as more than one position on the matter is concerned. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So on the basis of that, the Secretariat will have no choice than to put the original proposal plus any counter or any counters, because there could be even 5 or 6 different counter proposals on a particular issue. And then it will be up to the members to then decide that on the weight of the reasons given for all these proposals, we want to go for A or B or C or D. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you receive these things and you disagree, and all you do is to just speak about them elsewhere. I am a journalist. I have absolutely no problem with people discussing issues. So, for example, if let's say I'm a member of Parliament, there's nothing wrong with me discussing issues that have been brought before Parliament in the media or anything. But I know that the media can only shape views or do advocacy for a particular direction. But the real voting and decision making will be done on the floor.
Yeah,
on
the floor of Parliament.
So whatever I must do as a member of Parliament to advance a position that I hold on the issue, I must advance it. Let me advance it and let me even lose by the votes and say that maybe my view was not a majority view, so I lost. But at least it will be on record that I canvassed that view where it mattered. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I cannot be a member of the association, and as a member of the association going to an annual general meeting, I'm a shareholder. I've received a proposal for a decision to be taken at the annual general meeting. And the standing orders say that if I have a disagreement or I have a different view from the proposal, I need to submit a counter in writing. And I failed to do so. And I'm only interested in raising the issues in the public domain. But I do not do the most important and fundamental thing, which is about putting this counter or the position I hold in writing for it to be placed before the entirety of Congress for a decision to be made. Then really, people will begin to even question my motive. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, it is not the Spice FM discussion or the number of callers who were for or against it, which will determine whether something will pass or not pass. The discussion on Spice FM and the views of the audience of Spice FM can influence those who have to take the vote on, look, I heard these people, I heard this analysis, I heard that. I think that this makes sense, so I'll go this way.
Yeah.
But for it to influence the vote, that counter proposal must be made available. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
That is how we can all be responsible when it comes to developing our game and helping our game grow. So I cannot say that I'm a member. I'm interested in the development. I'm interested in the game growing. I have a contrary view to an issue. It is different when I'm not given the opportunity. But the statutes give me the opportunity once I receive this thing to express my contrary opinion in a particular way. I must follow it and say that yes, I disagreed with it, I canvassed it, I did what I should have done. It was brought before the House. Majority of members disagreed with me or they agreed with me. The record will state so.
Yeah.
But I cannot renege on my rights and my responsibilities as a member and say that I'm only interested in discussing it in the media space, but I'm not interested in facilitating a process that I have a right over to ensure that at least the viewpoint that I have will be subjected to a vote, and congressmen will have the opportunity of scrutinizing that view as against the original view. So I have absolutely no problem with any contrary views to any of those decisions. And in fact, that is the intent of the framers of the law. But all of us as members or shareholders of the association must also know that we are supposed to exercise this right in a particular manner. And we must also do so if our interest is really to develop the game.
Very well. Very well. Now, young Black Stars, you know, Doc, that's the one you're born on, you're excited, no crowd. What's the problem? Is it a coaching issue?
I don't think that is as easy as you put it. I think that we need to be playing much better. There's no doubt about that. Unfortunately, for let's say me, you know, I'm not on the Black Stars management committee. In fact, a recent game, what was that?
Central African Republic.
Yes, I mean,
Madagascar.
Yes, I've not watched both. I've not watched that game. I think Kumasi game, I'm sure, Chris shooting first game. I was at the stadium to watch that. But obviously, I've been reading from the reports and the views of even my colleagues who worked and were there. No? We think that there's a lot of work to be done. I need to engage my colleague Mark, the vice president. I need to engage him and others who are much closer to find out, or because we had a lot of expectations about his shooting and his team made up of Didi Dramani and Boating, you know, and Olele. And we believe that based on the fact that they've been around the team for a while and all that, you know, they could hit the ground running. So I need to find out what really the issues are. But of course, we are not too happy we think that there has to be a lot of improvements. But whether it is a coaching issue or it is what, I think that I'm not in a position to say that now. But what I can say is that it's pretty obvious that there are a lot of improvements that have to be made, and we also don't have all the time in the world. So we need to be acting fast and doing what must be done.
Okay. Finally, about class school member Bumana, and she say, as president.
Well, David, I'm not running for president. I'm not running for president.
Oh.
I'm not running for president.
I'm not fighting so crow. Would you know?
It's not surprising. I mean, my name has always come up, but I've said I'm not running for president. I believe that Kurt deserves another opportunity. I think that he's learned quite a lot, and I think he will be a much better. He'll be a much better person if he gets if he's re-elected. I think that we would see a lot of improvements. There's been a lot of learning along the line. There have been some mistakes that have been made. I think that he's learned a lot. I think that there are some things that will be done differently. There are things that will be done in a much better way. And so I think that he deserves to be given another opportunity to do a much better work for Ghana football.